Nelson Mandela, one of the most revered figures in the fight against apartheid in South Africa, left an indelible mark on the world's conscience. Through his unwavering commitment to justice, dignity, and equality, he became a beacon of hope not only for South Africans but for oppressed peoples everywhere. His moral authority transcended borders, shining brightly as a guidepost for generations seeking freedom, peace, and reconciliation. It's awe-inspiring, isn't it? How one man, through sheer perseverance, can embody the very essence of compassion and change the course of history. But Mandela didn't stand alone in his moral crusade for justice. One of the most meaningful relationships he developed on his journey to becoming a global symbol of peace was with another icon of compassion, the Dalai Lama, the exiled spiritual leader of Tibet. Though their contexts were vastly different, these two men shared a deep bond through their mutual beliefs in nonviolence, forgiveness, and the power of the human spirit to overcome unimaginable adversity. Isn't it amazing how two leaders from opposite sides of the globe, each facing oppression in their own way, could find common ground in their pursuit of peace and justice? What made their connection even more remarkable was their shared understanding that the road to peace is not a straight path. It's winding, filled with obstacles, and sometimes the hardest part is within, conquering one's own anger, bitterness, and desire for vengeance. Yet Mandela and the Dalai Lama both emerged from their personal struggles as shining examples of what it means to choose compassion over hate. How many of us, if faced with such overwhelming hardship, would make the same choice? Together, we can build bridges, not walls. Subscribe channel and join our community of peace builders, Mandela and the Dalai Lama, kindred spirits. When you think about it, the relationship between Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama might seem surprising at first. After all, Mandela was a political leader who fought against the brutal system of apartheid in South Africa, while the Dalai Lama was a spiritual figurehead advocating for Tibetan autonomy and the preservation of his people's culture under Chinese rule. Their worlds couldn't have been more different, one man leading a political revolution, the other guiding a spiritual awakening. And yet, their paths intertwined in the most meaningful way. Mandela spent 27 long years in prison for his resistance to apartheid. 27 years. That's almost 3 decades of isolation, confinement, and degradation, all for standing up for the rights of his people. How could anyone endure that and come out on the other side with a heart full of forgiveness? It's truly extraordinary. And the Dalai Lama? He was forced into exile in 1959 when China invaded Tibet. Since then, he's lived as a spiritual leader in exile, advocating for peace, human rights, and the cultural preservation of Tibet while his homeland remains under Chinese control. His decades of separation from his people didn't diminish his compassion or his commitment to non-violence. It's no wonder that when these two remarkable figures met, they recognized in each other a kindred spirit, someone who understood, at the deepest level, what it means to suffer and yet still choose peace. Can you picture their conversations? The wisdom shared between these two giants of moral leadership? They met on several occasions, and each time, their mutual respect and admiration deepened. Mandela often expressed his awe for the Dalai Lama's unwavering dedication to nonviolence, even in the face of extreme oppression. And the Dalai Lama, in turn, found in Mandela a role model of resilience and forgiveness. They saw each other as living embodiments of the very values they held dear: compassion, patience, and the enduring belief that peace is always possible, even when the world seems darkest. Shared belief in nonviolence. At the core of their bond was their shared belief in nonviolence. Let's take a moment to reflect on that: nonviolence in the face of unimaginable injustice. Mandela's life is often associated with his struggle against apartheid, a system so deeply rooted in institutionalized racism that it dehumanized millions of black South Africans. And while Mandela initially supported armed resistance through the African National Congress's, ANC, armed wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe, he came to realize something profound: that true, lasting peace could only be achieved through negotiation, dialogue, and reconciliation. It's hard to imagine the kind of inner strength it takes to make such a transformation, isn't it? After decades of suffering, Mandela emerged with a new vision, one that was not about revenge, but about healing. He knew that to build a future for South Africa, the country had to let go of its past. How did he do it? How does anyone look their former oppressors in the eye and choose forgiveness? For Mandela, the answer lay in his understanding that violence, even if justified in the pursuit of justice, ultimately leads to more violence. He saw that the cycle of hatred could only be broken through compassion, understanding, and, most importantly, forgiveness. It's one thing to read these words, but to live by them? That's something else entirely. The Dalai Lama, too, has long been a proponent of nonviolence. His approach to the Tibetan struggle is known as the Middle Way, a path that seeks meaningful autonomy for Tibet within the framework of the People's Republic of China, rather than full independence. Despite the ongoing oppression of his people, the Dalai Lama has never wavered in his commitment to peaceful dialogue. It's a testament to his deep belief that nonviolence is the only path to true peace. But it's not easy, is it? When we see injustice in the world, our first instinct is often anger. We want to fight back, to defend those who are suffering. And yet, Mandela and the Dalai Lama both understood that while violence might provide a temporary solution, it only perpetuates the cycle of hatred and destruction. Peace requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to forgive even the gravest of wrongs. Imagine being in their shoes, seeing your people suffer, knowing that you could call for violence and perhaps end the immediate pain, but choosing instead to take the harder road, the road of nonviolence. It's a choice that few of us can truly understand, and yet it's one that both Mandela and the Dalai Lama made time and time again. The power of forgiveness in conflict resolution. Forgiveness, what a simple word, but what a powerful concept. For both Mandela and the Dalai Lama, forgiveness was not just a personal virtue, it was a tool for societal healing. In the face of oppression, both men had every reason to feel anger, bitterness, and a desire for revenge. After all, Mandela had been imprisoned for nearly 3 decades, and the Dalai Lama had been exiled from his homeland for more than half a century. How easy would it have been for them to hold on to that pain, and yet, they didn't. Instead, they chose forgiveness. Can you imagine? When Mandela was released from prison in 1990, many expected him to call for revenge against the white minority government that had oppressed black South Africans for so long. But Mandela understood something profound, that South Africa's future depended on its ability to heal from its painful past. Instead of seeking retribution, he led the country toward reconciliation. Through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, victims and perpetrators of apartheid-era crimes were given the opportunity to tell their stories, to seek forgiveness and understanding. It's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it? That after all that suffering, Mandela didn't choose revenge. He chose healing. He knew that the past couldn't be undone, but that the future could be built on a foundation of understanding and forgiveness. The Dalai Lama has often spoken of forgiveness, not only as a personal practice but as a path to global peace. For him, forgiveness isn't about condoning the actions of those who cause harm, but about freeing oneself from the cycle of anger and hatred. He teaches that holding on to bitterness only causes more suffering, both for the individual and for society as a whole. Can you imagine how different our world might be if more people embraced this idea? If, instead of holding on to anger, we chose forgiveness, it's not easy, of course. Forgiveness requires incredible strength. But Mandela and the Dalai Lama both understood that it's the only way to break the cycle of violence and build a future based on peace and compassion, advocacy for human rights and justice. Both Mandela and the Dalai Lama were tireless advocates for human rights. Mandela's struggle was against apartheid, a system that denied basic human rights to black South Africans and reduced them to second-class citizens in their own country. His life's work was dedicated to the fight for equality, and in the end, he succeeded. But his victory wasn't just for South Africa, it was for the entire world. His message of justice, equality, and human dignity resonated far beyond the borders of his homeland, inspiring millions of people across the globe. Mandela often spoke of the inherent dignity of all people, regardless of race, nationality, or background. He believed that the liberation of South Africa would only be complete when every person, regardless of their race, had equal opportunities and rights. This belief in the universal dignity of all people earned him global recognition, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. The Dalai Lama, too, has been a steadfast advocate for human rights, particularly the rights of the Tibetan people to practice their religion and preserve their culture. His advocacy, however, extends beyond Tibet. He has called for universal compassion, environmental stewardship, and the welfare of all beings. His work for peace and human rights has earned him widespread respect and recognition, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. Though their struggles took place in different political landscapes, Mandela and the Dalai Lama shared a common vision: a world where justice and equality prevail. They both understood that human rights are not a matter of cultural or national difference, but a universal standard that should be upheld for all people. It's easy to look at their lives and think, how could I ever live up to that? But that's the thing about Mandela and the Dalai Lama. They didn't expect the world to be perfect. They knew that injustice, inequality, and suffering were all around them. But they believed that by standing up for what was right, by advocating for human dignity, they could make the world just a little bit better. And that's something we can all do, in our own way, every single day. A legacy of hope and compassion. The connection between Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for humanity to overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression through peace, forgiveness, and compassion. Both leaders left behind legacies that continue to inspire people across the world to this day. Doesn't that fill you with hope? Even in a world still grappling with divisions and conflict, their friendship and shared vision show us that a better future is possible. Mandela's journey from prisoner to president was one of the most extraordinary transformations in modern history. His emphasis on reconciliation over retribution didn't just change the course of South Africa's history, it changed the way the world thought about justice and peace. His legacy continues to inspire people everywhere, reminding us that no matter how deep the wounds, healing is always possible. The Dalai Lama's tireless efforts to promote peace, even in the face of continued exile, have made him a global spiritual leader whose teachings transcend political boundaries. His message of compassion, forgiveness, and nonviolence continues to resonate with people from all walks of life. In a world still struggling with divisions, hatred, and violence, the friendship between Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama stands as a testament to the power of shared values. They showed us that it is possible to confront hatred and violence with compassion and understanding, and that the most profound change comes not from force, but from love. So, what will we take from their story? Will we choose forgiveness over bitterness? Will we stand up for justice, even when it's difficult? Will we build bridges where others build walls? Mandela and the Dalai Lama's legacy gives us the answers. Yes, we can. Conclusion: in examining the remarkable lives of Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama, we are reminded of the transformative power of forgiveness, nonviolence, and compassion. Though their struggles were different, their shared commitment to peace, human dignity, and justice has left an enduring legacy that continues to inspire and guide us. These two leaders remind us that no matter how dark the world may seem, we have the capacity within ourselves to bring about positive change. Their lives are a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the incredible impact of leading with empathy, understanding, and a deep commitment to justice. Whether we're facing personal challenges or striving to make a difference in our communities, the lessons of Mandela and the Dalai Lama show us that real, lasting change begins with each of us. So, as we reflect on their legacy, let us ask ourselves, what can we do, in our own lives, to carry their torch forward? How can we embody the values of forgiveness, compassion, and nonviolence in our daily interactions? How can we, like Mandela and the Dalai Lama, build a world that is more just, more kind, and more peaceful?